Maybe it was my obsession with horror movies and stories, or the fantasies that went on in my head daily. I'm not sure what caused it. All I know is one day I went to sleep and I never woke up. Well, at least until 10 days later. Welcome to Confessions and Unreal Stories. This is a segment here on May 22 where we share the most incredible, fascinating, and shocking real life stories that actually happened. The catch is, people from all over the world have submitted these stories anonymously, and so we, May 22, will help tell their story. So, this was the craziest day and experience of my life. One day, I was coming back from the supermarket, going home, and I met an old lady. And it was raining, and I was trying to get back home quickly. My umbrella was small, and I was scared that by the time I got home, I was going to be soaked and muddy. I was carrying 2 bags of groceries, and as I was walking home, I passed this lady. And as she passed me, we locked eyes. It was so intense. She had this head wrap around her head. It was red, a blue skirt, and a white shirt. I turned to look at her, and she did the same. I'm not sure how to explain this, but it was like she spoke to me with her eyes. Anyway, I went home and went about my day as if nothing happened. When I went to sleep that night, I had a dream. It was so strange, and I saw that same lady in my dream. She told me a very peculiar message. She said, "I have come to answer your request." "But I've never met you," I told her. She told me that she'll see me soon, and she disappeared. I woke up and I was so confused about this dream. When I woke up, it was a Sunday, so I went to church. We are a typical Christian family, so we all went to church. At church, there was this visiting pastor that day. He kept looking at me here and there as he taught. At one point, he came to me and said, "You need to be careful about your friends and what you talk about. Don't invite funny things into your life." So I was obviously confused. What did he mean? I immediately went to the dream I had the night before. The only thing was, when I thought about that lady, like I said, I didn't know her. I've never met her. After church, I decided to walk home because I needed to think. As I passed that same supermarket from the day before, guess who I saw again? Yes, that same lady from the day before. This time, I didn't know what to do. Should I run? Should I ask her who she was? And why was she wearing the same outfit as before? Like the same outfit in my dream as well. I stopped walking and I stood frozen, looking at her. As she kept walking, coming close to me, I thought she was going to stop, but she just walked right past me. I turned around, and as I did so, she turned around as well. This time, she just stood there and looked at me. It's as if no one else noticed her because everyone kept walking by, minding their business, as if 2 women were not standing in silence looking at each other, like we were looking weird, but nobody noticed it. Was I the only one who could see her? Is my mind playing games with me? Suddenly, this fear came over me and my body started to feel very, very funny. I quickly turned around and I started running. I was running for maybe about 10 minutes before I stopped. I wondered, is she following me? I was too scared to turn and look behind, so I just started saying, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus," under my breath over and over until I got home. When I opened the door, I found my family with some visitors. They saw that I looked flustered. My cousin asked me if I was okay, and I told them I was fine. And I ran to my room. Remember, I decided to walk. They took the car back home, so when I got there, everyone was in the living room. I was so confused that day. I just wanted to be left alone. And I don't know why I kept having this feeling of fear in me. So I decided to sleep it off. Maybe I'll feel better if I just slept. I usually do that when I'm feeling stressed, and when I wake up, it's like everything has drifted away. I dozed off, and I don't know how long I passed out for, but I was woken up by a knock on my door. I looked up and it was my mom. She asked me if I was okay. I told her I was fine, just a little tired. She stood by the door and just looked at me for a few minutes, then she closed the door and left. I got up and locked the door, I did not want to be disturbed by anybody. My parents know that I like to keep to myself, and I usually lock myself in my room. I dozed off again and I fell asleep. I had a really strange dream. I was in a forest and there was a clearing to my far right with a yellow tree. This tree was sparkling. It was just the only tree that was there that was yellow, and I was attracted to it. So I began walking to the tree. It was like it was calling me. I've never seen a yellow tree before, especially from top to bottom. Like the leaves were yellow, the trunk was yellow, the branches, everything was yellow. Even the soil around it was yellow. When I got to the tree that is, the leaves of the tree began to fall, and some were falling on me. They felt like chains though, and I started to like brush them away with my hand. It was so weird. Even though I was in that dream, it felt so real. Suddenly, I found myself chained to the tree. The leaves were so strong and they chained me to the tree, and I don't even know how to explain it. But I was literally tied, like pressed down on the tree. As I stood there wondering what was going on, and once again, this felt so real. I knew that I was asleep, and I knew that I was having a dream. And I was trying to figure out how I could wake up. It's like I was teleported to another realm. I saw 3 girls from a distance. They were walking towards me. I knew them. They were my friends, my neighbors in fact, but not so close. They lived like 15 minutes away. I started to yell out, "Emily, Emily, please come and help me. Emily!" But it was like they had no urgency. They just walked slowly. When they got to me, they just stood there looking. We just looked at each other for maybe about 2 minutes. I asked them if they were okay, and they just kept quiet. They just looked at me. After 5 minutes of me asking and them saying nothing, one of my friends decided to speak. She told me we have to wait for her. I said, "Her? Who's her? What are you talking about?" They just kept saying we have to wait for her. It's as if they were not allowed to speak to me. So we stood in silence, waiting for whoever her was. And I was still chained to the tree by the leaves, yellow leaves. Suddenly, there she was, the woman that I saw in the street twice and in my dream. And guess what? Again, she had on the same outfit, a red head wrap, a blue skirt, and a white shirt. As she approached me, the 3 girls moved as if to make way for her, and they looked down and they held their hands together. I wanted to ask them, why are you guys acting this way? Like, we're friends. So the lady came, I guess she's the one we were waiting for. She came and she stood in front of me and just stared at me. So I told her, "I hope you're not about to just stare at me forever. Can you just tell me what you want? Like, what is this? And why in the world are leaves holding me down?" She just looked at me and she said, "You have come. You have come." I said, "Excuse me, I have come? Come where? Please untie me." And once again, why are leaves holding me down? "It's magic," Emily said. I'm like, "What? Excuse me, magic? Okay, Emily, can you just untie me? I don't know how you're going to do that, but just let me go." So Emily told me that she couldn't, that the process had already started. I asked her the process for what, and she told me to make you like us. My other 2 friends were just quiet. It's like they didn't want to be there, but they had to, like they had no choice. One of them especially, she just kept glancing at me, almost like she wanted to say, "I'm sorry." So I spoke to the other 2 girls. "Guys, come on. Like, what's going on? It's me, your friend. Just let me go, please." They looked down and said nothing. Emily then told me, "You came to my house many times, remember? And you said you wish you could exist in another land and have powers. I asked you if I had those powers, would you receive them? And you said yes. So I contacted our leader and she said I could initiate the process. I even asked you 3 times again and you still said yes. I said, "Emily, you're mad. You need to let me go." Emily actually told me that right now you've been asleep for 7 days, and if we want, we can make you sleep forever. They wouldn't know what happened to you. You just kind of like disappear. I looked at Emily and I was shocked. I knew exactly what she was talking about, but when we had our conversations, I was not serious. I like fantasy movies. I like to drift away and be in my mind sometimes and imagine that I have powers, but I never thought that she would actually take it seriously. And what in the world, is this really happening? So I told her, "Emily, we were talking about fantasy movies. It was an innocent talk. What do you mean? Just let me go now. Please, just let me go and I'll forget that this happened. You don't even have to worry. I won't tell anyone. I'll keep quiet, I promise." And she just told me, "You can have everything you want. If you stay here and you can come and go, stop fighting it. If you accept, then we can release you. But you have to do as we say from this day onwards." So at this point, I knew I was in trouble, but I didn't know what to do. The only thing that came to me was the urge to say Jesus over and over. And so I started to do so. Jesus, 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 Jesus. I just kept saying it. Suddenly, the woman spoke. She was quiet this whole time, just looking. Maybe she was trying to use her funny powers on me or something. "Shut up," she said. She slapped me And that made me say Jesus more and more because I saw that it was getting her angry. I felt the leaves around me getting loose, but it's like they were taking forever to fall off. Suddenly, I couldn't talk. It's like she took my ability to talk. My 3 friends were chanting something, and I felt this evil around me. Still in my heart, I kept saying Jesus over and over and over. The leaves fell off, and I just took off running. I heard Emily in the distance saying, "We'll always keep coming for you. You can't run away from us. We know where you live. Come on." I don't know where I was going, but I just ran. I didn't want to run to the forest, but there was nothing else. The forest was growing dark though, and it was weird, and I didn't want to go there. I say, "Jesus, if it's you that helped me break free, then take me back to safety." I then saw a building appear, and I ran to it. It felt like I was running forever, but I got to it. I went inside. The building was filled with light, and I sat on the floor trying to catch my breath. Suddenly, the door opened. Oh my gosh, who is it now? It was the pastor from the church. I jumped up and I told him to leave me alone. He told me to stop being afraid. He said, "I've been praying for you. I had a dream about you last night, and God told me to come and help you. You need to wake up." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He came and he held my hand. "You need to wake up," he said. I'm like, "Wake up from where? Oh my gosh. So you know that I'm trapped? So this is real?" Because I felt like I'm in a dream, but I needed to wake up. How am I supposed to wake up? And he just kept saying the same thing over and over. "Wake up, wake up. You need to wake up, wake up." Suddenly, I woke up. I found myself in a room. I heard the sounds of machines beeping. I had a crazy, massive headache. The room was filled with light. I was so tired. I struggled to look around me. I heard people speaking in the room. They were praying. I was so weak, I couldn't speak. Was I at the hospital? "Oh my gosh, she's awake." It was my brother. Suddenly, people rushed to me and everyone was crying. They were happy. I then saw the pastor. He came to me and held my hand. He smiled. "Please, everyone, wait outside. Give her some space." My mother came to me for a few minutes. "You'll be fine. You just had a severe episode. It's your condition, the one that you've always had since you were a child." I looked at her and I said, "Mom, this was not a condition. Some girls tied me to a tree with leaves." My mom looked at the pastor and smiled. She told him, "Don't mind her. She has a very creative mind, this one. We'll be outside. Please talk to her. She needs to change her life. Thank you so much for praying for my child." My mom then went outside to alert the doctors that I had woken up. I was now alone with the pastor. I asked him, "What am I doing in a hospital?" I was sleeping. He looked at me. He said, "Child, you are in a coma for 10 days. I said, "Excuse me, a coma for 10 days? No, 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 no. What do you mean, 10 days? What?" Then I remembered. I saw him in my dream. "You helped me, man of God," I told him. "Helped you?" he asked. "Yes, in my dream, I saw you." He smiled and he simply said, "Praise God." "Pastor, you need to pray for me," I told him. He then explained everything to me. He said when he saw me at church that one day, he saw chains around me, and they were put there by my 3 friends. He told me it was like yellow leaves. I said, "Oh my God, yes. In my dream, that whole tree was yellow. How do you know?" He just smiled at me, and then I told him everything. I told him what happened. I told him about the 3 girls, how I used to go to their houses, how we would talk about having powers, and all of these things. And I told him, "Pastor, I was just playing. I am not trying to be no witch. Like, what was that?" "You're loved by God," he told me. "Do you know they didn't want you to ever wake up? They were lying to you." I said, "What?" "And they live down the street to me. We need to call the police." And he told me, "What will we say when we call the police? That your 3 friends kidnapped you and took you to a dream? No, we just need to pray. Don't be afraid. Nothing will happen to you." So he prayed for me. When I was discharged and went home, I tried to tell my parents the story. My dad said, "Sometimes people have dreams when they're in a coma. It doesn't mean that those things are actually true." I told him I wasn't in a coma. I was attacked. Like I was having real conversations in the dream. Why don't you not believe me? Talk to the pastor, he will tell you. He just told me, "Okay, I'll talk to the pastor." After 2 days of resting in the house, one day my mom had a visitor. I was in the living room watching a show. The doorbell rang and my mom went to receive the guest. I heard footsteps. I looked up and I almost passed out. It was the same woman from the supermarket. It was the same woman from the dream. The same one who tried to trap me with leaves. The The one who wore a red scarf, a blue skirt, and a white shirt. What is she doing in my house? Nope. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I quickly got up and I ran out the back door. I don't know how the energy came, but it did. I had to see the pastor. I had to see the pastor.